Merry Christmas, everyone. I'm gonna give you the top 10 best Christmas horror movies to watch. So I do want to give a disclaimer. There's a lot of Christmas horror films that I haven't watched quite yet. I just didn't have time, or there was some that I watched that I just didn't really feel like they were valuable enough to include on this list. And I will be honest, there's actually one movie on this list that I don't even really like, but it's still a really well done Christmas horror film. It's going to be my number 10. But before I get into this list, share with me your list down below. What are some of the best Christmas horror films that you've watched? Number 10 is going to be Black Xmas from 2006. This is the film that I'm not a big fan of, but I included it on this list because number one, the production value is extremely high. It's a very well done movie, but there are moments in this film that has some incredible gore. It has some incredible kills. And I love my slashers, so I had to put this one in here because if you are going to watch a Black Christmas remake, this is the one that you should definitely watch, and you need to avoid Black Christmas 2019 like the plague. Number 9 is going to be Christmas Evil. This is a interesting movie. I'd never heard of this film before I started kind of making a list of films that I wanted to watch towards this list, and Christmas Evil is about this guy who's obsessed with Christmas, who all he wants to do is be Santa. Like, he works at a toy factory. He just wants to make toys. He has, two books, a book of nice children and a book of naughty children. And he observes his neighborhood children and sees if they are nice or naughty. And he begins punishing those who he feels fit are for punishing. He starts killing people. Very interesting. I actually really like the dynamic between Harry, the main character, and his brother, Phil, I believe is his name. Both of them have a really interesting dynamic, and you can tell that both of them are really traumatized by certain past events that they both had to encounter when they were children. And this kind of demise of Harry, his descent into madness, it really kind of delves deep into the darker side of fandom, of obsession, of addiction. And that's one thing that I really drew from this movie, was that this film can really show you the problems with being obsessed with something. My number 8 is going to go to Krampus. I finally watched this film. It's a fun movie. This is a fun holiday movie that has not just some decent scares, but also some really funny moments. There's some great humor in this film. I do like the cast all around. I mean, you got people like Adam Scott, Toni Collette in here. This is a movie that definitely knows what it is. It's very weird that Michael Dougherty, the guy who directed this film, he's very underrated because he also directed Trick or Treat. He's directed 2 holiday, almost in a way cult classic-y horror films that I think are really fun to watch. They're very light horror movies. You can kind of go into them and just have a fun time. You don't really need to be the biggest horror buff in the world, but if you just want something that's going to give you a little bit of spook, but also give you some fun and some enjoyment and some humor, then definitely check out Krampus, because I think that this is a movie that has some very bold choices, and it does something that I think a lot of us can quite understand, and that is that our families were stuck with him. You might not like him, but especially during the holiday season, but you're kind of stuck with him because that's what you got. Number 7 is going to go to The Lodge. This movie stars Riley Keough. I remember watching this, I think it was last year maybe it was before lockdown happened, but The Lodge is a movie that's very bleak. It's very dark. It's very atmospheric. I think that this is a film that works extremely well because it's a movie that is told in a very personal type of lens. I mean, this is a movie that's very personal. It dives deep into, fanaticism with religion, and also kind of expectations, and trying to almost in a way be in a spot that you're not used to. I mean, Riley Keough's character has to go through a lot in this film. She's around her boyfriend's children who don't like her. They don't like her, they don't trust her, and he leaves, and it's just her and them for a lot of the movie. It's also very secluded. It feels almost like The Thing in a way, where it's very cold and very chilling and atmospheric, like I said, and that's the one thing that I love about this film that I think can really give you something different to watch this holiday season. Number 6 is going to go to Better Watch Out. This movie blows away all of your expectations going in. I thought this movie was a home invasion movie. I'm not gonna reveal what this movie is, but the movie takes directions and turns that I had no idea it was going that route. One thing that's interesting though is that this movie is very predictable. I found it to be very predictable. Within the first 15, 20 minutes, I kind of understood what was happening. And as things kind of go deeper and deeper into this movie, you start kind of unraveling things that just to feel in a way so malicious and so dactyl that you really have to kind of dive in with a deeper kind of lens and a deeper meaning. This film has a lot of symbolism in it. It's not as simple as you would think. I actually found myself to be very wrapped up in these characters, kind of their dilemmas, the things that they're trying to get out of life, the things that they're trying to get out of this situation. This movie takes all your expectations and completely throws them against the wall. I don't want to spoil anything about this movie, so I'm not going to talk any more about it, but you need to watch this film. It's really, really good. My number 5 is going to go to Anna and the Apocalypse. I did a video on this movie. This is a zombie Christmas musical. It is so much fun. I still love 2 of the songs in the soundtrack that I listen to on repeat. So it's a movie that can give you a lot of what you're looking for that you didn't know that you needed. Zombies, Christmas, musicals, all of that mixed together makes for a really fun time. So I definitely recommend Anna and the Apocalypse. If you want to hear my full thoughts on it, I do have a video that'll be right here. So make sure you click on it. It'll be one of these corners. I can never tell because it's always reversed and stuff. So yeah. Number 4 is going to go to Gremlins. This is the first time I ever watched this movie, was this year. I had seen clips of Gremlins. I knew what it was. This movie is it's a family-friendly horror film that actually has a lot to say about foreign policy, about international crises. It's interesting. This movie, in a way, is very patriotic, which is interesting. I didn't think that was going to be the case going into Gremlins, but this is a really fun movie that has some really good humor. It has some really good puppeteering. I actually found the puppeteering in this movie to be quite fantastic. Some of these gremlins, they look real. And Gizmo is one of the cutest things to ever grace the silver screen. I love Gizmo. How could you not? He reminds me of all the Furbies I used to have when I was a kid. I used to have Furbies because Furbies were cool back in the day. Okay? Like, he reminds me of, like, the Furbies. So I like Gremlins. This is a classic film. I'm sure a lot of you have already seen it, but it has to be included on this list. It's a holiday must. Number 3 is going to go to Let the Right One In. Now, is this considered necessarily a Christmas movie? No, I'm kind of taking a little bit of leeway on this one and giving it the Christmas horror treatment because this movie is atmospheric because it has a lot of snow and it really kind of uses that winter, that winter atmosphere, that winter setting for something that's very dark, but also in a way brilliant and romantic and beautiful. So yeah, this one's going to be included on the list because you can watch this during Christmas time. I don't think there's any Christmas trees. Maybe there is. I might have overlooked that, but it is winter time. It's cold, and it will really set you in kind of that snugly cozy mood to just kind of sit by a fire and watch a good horror film. Because quite frankly, this is one of the better ones on this list. I think in terms of like best well-made horror films, I would actually probably put this at number 1, but because this is my list and this is kind of my favorites out of the bunch, like I have to put this at number 3 because I like the other 2 more. Number 2 is going to go to the original 1974 classic, Black Christmas. I've talked at length about this film. I have a video you can go check out on my channel. It's also going to be, above in a title card that you should definitely go check out and click on and watch. This movie is genius. It's one of the best slasher films of all time. It's one of the best Christmas films of all time. I think that this is a movie that will stand the test of time. It does not have a lot of love from people because of just how bad and off-putting the remakes have been. Whereas like Black Christmas feels like almost in a way like a gem for people. Like it doesn't get the popularity or the notoriety that it deserves because this movie is so rich. It's so good. It's got great storytelling and it really started the slasher craze. So if you're someone who's into slasher movies and you have not watched Black Christmas, you have to watch it because this is a movie that really, I mean, if it wasn't for this film, I mean, Halloween wouldn't exist. Texas Chainsaw Massacre probably wouldn't exist. This movie was able to really create something unique, story-wise, so rich and tangible. It feels like you could actually be with these characters going through these trials and these difficulties that they are facing. And my number one, I did a video on this as well, you can go check out, but Nightmare Before Christmas. The Nightmare Before Christmas is my number one Christmas horror film of all time. I love this movie. This is one of my favorite films of all time. You can watch this during Christmas, you can watch this during Halloween. I watch this during Christmas because this to me is more of a Christmas film. It's a family-friendly Christmas horror film. It's a child-friendly Christmas horror film. It's so weird to me that so many kids right now love this movie. Like I have a niece, she's like really young. I think she's like 3 and she loves this movie. Very odd, very weird, it's very creepy, but I love it. I think it's really cool, and it really is a movie that has an expansive world that is just fun to play in. I want to be with these characters in this world for as long as possible, and Tim Burton and Henry Selick did something that I think is remarkable by making this film the way that it is. I think this movie's perfect the way that it is. I don't think this movie needs any correction or any remake or any upscale. Like, this is a film that will stand the test of time, and it's a movie that has both heart as well as scares. There are some really scary moments in this film, and I love what this movie represents and that this movie is what it is. So there you go. Those are my top 10 best Christmas horror films to watch this Christmas season. If I missed anything, let me know down below in the comments of this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year.